Welcome to Tall Boy in the Grass Reviews. This week, Marty and I are reviewing That 90s Show, the sequel to the much hated and ignored That 80s Show, which was the sequel to the much loved and heavily watched That 70s Show. So let's get into this. Let's do a little recap. So the year's 1995. Eric's daughter, Leia, Eric and Donna's air quotes daughter, Leia.
We'll get into that
later. Comes to Point Place to see her grandparents on her way to space camp with Eric. Decides she wants to spend the summer with them because she met some cool kid next door, and then hangs out with some local riffraff teenagers while Red and Kitty are, acting like Red and Kitty. Alright, well, that's like the premise of the show. The first episode, I thought it was kind of weird seeing these guys for the first time after so long. Because a lot of these guys really not even Ashton Kutcher or Mila Kunis act that much anymore. So we don't really see any of these actors too often. And then all of the teenagers really don't come from famous backgrounds, so it's not like they're very well known. But I will give them props for this. They used actual teenagers instead of like 24-year-olds pretending to be teenagers. I think Mila Kunis and Donna were the only ones that were still teenagers, air quotes, when That 70s Show came out. Mila Kunis was definitely a teenager because she lied about her age to get on that show. And had her first real kiss with Michael Kelso, who in real life became her husband. So that's cute, and I like that. But we're not talking about That 70s Show. We're talking about That 90s Show, which has That 70s Show characters in it. Everybody aged okay except Donna.
Yeah, she looked a little rough.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily her not aging right. I think it was plastic surgery.
I think it was just her time in prison from Orange is the New Black.
It could be that, but she looked healthier in Orange is the New Black than she does now. She looks like she's had some recent work done. But hey, whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better.
We'll say Eric looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he changed at all. Kitty still looks great. I think Red still looks pretty much the same.
Nah, he definitely looks older.
Maybe a little, but I don't know. He aged, like an old man ages.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm going to pull up a side-by-side picture here, and we're going to look at him. And we're going to see how well he aged after you see Red Foreman side-by-side images. Okay, I guess that didn't work. Let's try Red Foreman
70s versus 90s show.
then and now. You can see it his hair for sure, and then around his eyes definitely sunk in more. Ooh, look at what he looked like. What was that? The 80s? Ugh. I felt like he was his peak attractiveness in That 70s Show. There's a good picture of him. Oh, never mind. What? Why is it doing this?
Yeah, I guess I could see it, but
yeah, it's a little clearer. Yeah, see, he looks a lot more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And then here he just looks kind of sad.
He still looks pretty good for his age.
Yeah, but look at him in That 70s Show. He wasn't really that old in That 70s Show, He was dad age.
And now he's grandpa age.
Yeah.
So he aged accordingly. Donna did not.
Yeah, he aged accordingly. I'm just saying he doesn't look like he used to. One with Valderrama, fantastic. Looks great. They all do, except for Donna. Once again, I'm not saying she's ugly or anything. She may look a little bit like a monster, but purely because of the surgeries. I don't know if she's got medical issues or anything.
Well, they always made fun of her in That 70s Show for being a man.
That's true. She doesn't look more feminine now. She looks like Jenny in Forrest Gump at the end of Forrest Gump.
Oof.
She might have got some of them 80s diseases and brought them into the 90s with her.
Ouch.
She probably got them from Randy. Wonder if she got anything else from Randy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But, yeah, first episode was a good introduction, kind of fleshing out who we're following. Second episode is more about everybody that she's hanging out with, who are these new people. I don't know. I think each episode had some decent moments in it. I wouldn't say they were as good as That 70s Show, but I was a kid when That 70s Show came out, and so I was watching it from that perspective. And while I was born in the 90s, I was born the year that this show takes place. So during this show, I would have been 5 months old. I don't really remember what this year was like, so I don't know what the accuracy is for anything, except in the second episode, they went to go rent a movie, and in the back, there were 2 copies of Jurassic Park, which came out in 1993, and they were in the new releases section in 1995. And there was a copy of The Lost World Jurassic Park, which came out in 1997, 2 years after this show takes place, and it is also in the new releases. So we've got 2 movies that aren't very new, and one that's so new it hasn't been made.
First plot hole.
Yeah. One down, writers. We're going to pick you apart, and the set designers and everyone else who is in control of these decisions.
Should we just jump into the second plot hole?
Yeah, let's just jump into it, because this is going to bother us. Okay, Leia Foreman, Eric's daughter, allegedly, she turns 15 in 1995, in the summer of 1995, which would mean she was born in the summer of 1980. If she was born in the summer of 1980, based off of our guesswork, there's 10 episodes. This is a summer. In episode 6, about halfway through, we're going to say this is somewhere probably around June, July, when she has her birthday. 9 months before that is like the fall of 79, when Eric was in Africa. And we thought maybe we're just being a little paranoid, right? Maybe we're just being a little paranoid. We go back to watch the finale to make sure that Donna wasn't smoking weed or anything while she was pregnant. And boy, let me tell you, she didn't have weed or alcohol, so she knew that she was pregnant. Donna knew she was pregnant.
With another man's baby.
It had to be with another man's baby.
Probably Randy Pearson.
It's got to be Randy.
Yeah.
It's got to be. And here's the thing. Leia's blonde. Donna, brunette. Redhead. Redhead. Eric, brunette. Randy, a little blonde.
Dirty blonde, yeah.
So, awful suspicious. Does Eric know? Maybe. Maybe not. Now, it still could have been Eric's, but
that would be, you're looking at like a 6-month pregnancy.
Exactly.
Tops.
And
so
he would have had to knock her up immediately when he got back to the United States.
So she's looking at like 3 months premature.
At least.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's possible, but I'm going to go with that's Randy Pearson's baby.
It's got to be. Like, in my mind, it has to be. And Eric is a simp. I mean, classic simp. So he would definitely be akin to being cuckolded, and I mean that in the literal sense and not in the meme. I don't think Eric's the dad. I'm sorry, you are not the father. DNA tests come back. You're not the father. Speaking of kids, born or conceived in 1979, Kelso also had a kid in 1979 who is not in this show about them having kids. He has a kid in this show, but it's not the one that he had in that 70s show, who would be 16 when this show takes place. Now, they didn't even mention her, which I thought was weird, so maybe they forgot that he had a daughter. I mean, Akira Toriyama completely forgot that Launch was a character in a show that he wrote. So it's not impossible that they completely forgot he had a daughter.
It's understandable.
Yeah. Obviously, another big thing with this is that everybody returned except for Hyde for obvious reasons. And I was thinking about it when the show was coming out. Well, how are they going to address that? He was such a big part of the show. He lived with Kitty and Red for however long. And while we were getting ready for the podcast, I started thinking, I lived with my friend's parents when I was in high school. I haven't seen them since I joined the military. And I doubt that they talk about me. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I think about them a lot, but I don't think they talk about me. So in my mind, it makes sense that if, Hyde, let's say we're just purely talking about the character here. 1980 hits, he decides to buy a motorcycle and hit the road and become a, biker or whatnot, or maybe he got killed in an accident. There could be a litany of things that happened to him. Maybe he joined the military. I don't know. What's going on between then? He could have gone to Grenada, Operation Urgent Fury.
95, he could be in Gulf War right now.
He could be in the Gulf War right now. Yeah, that's something that kind of freaked me out a little bit when I'm watching the show. They were making some kind of reference to war, and they said Iraq, and I'm like, dang, it's been that long, huh?
Yeah, we've been there for a little while.
We've been there a little bit, 30 years, nothing crazy. I feel like, obviously, it's not at this point on the same level at that 70s show. But I liked it overall. I feel like it's a good show to have on in the background.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about that 70 show. It's a good show to have on in the background for me. So I went into this show with an open mind, thought I'd, give it a fair shake. And so far, it is not as good as that 70 show, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's watchable.
And I'm still going to give it a chance, and we'll see how the next season plays out.
Yeah. I hope that they do another season, and I hope they explore Eric being cuckolded by Randy. I know they weren't technically together at the time. Eric and Donna weren't technically together when she would have been knocked up by Randy, but they were married in heart, If I had to give the show any, gruff, I would say the most annoying part of the show is Ozzy.
Yep.
He has some funny one-liners here and there. It's his voice and the way that he, presents things. He's rude.
He does nothing for me. Every second that he's on screen, I lose interest in the show.
But I do think he had some funny jokes here and there.
I don't think so. I don't think he's funny at all.
The Oshkosh Bagosh thing, that wasn't funny. But I'm trying to think of which joke it was. It was one of the last couple episodes. I think that actor kind of got into the stride of the character and was rolling a bit more with the jokes and had better timing. But it just felt like he has a very annoying voice, but it's forced to kind of be, I don't know what word to use for it, sassy. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's funny, sassy characters. But like you said, he's just rude. He's just cold. There's not a lot of emotion to him.
Yeah, and then the only time they try to add depth to him is with just like a super cliche,
the coming out,
overdone, tropey coming out thing. It's like, guys, at this point, we're past all that, okay? We don't have to keep having these. That 70s show had 4 of these episodes in that. They had tons of episodes about gay stuff, and I feel like they did a better job with it.
And that's fine. I don't care if he's gay. It's just
how they're doing it,
Yeah, his character is just not fun to watch, fun to listen to. I don't know. I just don't enjoy it when he's on the screen.
My boyfriend in Canada, blah, 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 sassy joke.
Yeah, that's how he talks if you haven't watched the show.
My name's Ozzy, and I'm a sassy little Asian boy. I'm going to be 6'2" someday.
He kind of reminds me of what comedies depict Kim Jong-un as.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to pick on the actor for having a weird voice, because it's not like I have the sexiest voice in the world or anything like that, but his voice is just piercing. And I think that mixed with the coldness, like you mentioned, is just unappealing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of movies, TV shows, and video games nowadays that write characters that are just unlikable because they think that equals depth or comedy. It doesn't. You can make somebody sassy and likable.
Right.
Like Fez.
Yeah.
Fez was great.
You could even make somebody a rude and likable, like Red.
Yeah. Red's a jerk, but he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And likable. And the most relatable person in either of the shows, that 70s or that 90s show. And we're not going to talk about that 80s show anymore other than that initial joke.
You're telling me that Eric isn't the most relatable for you?
No, Eric's not really that relatable for me.
I don't see how he's not. He's a Star Wars nerd.
He is a Star Wars nerd, but he had a girlfriend. And he did drugs and drank and everything that I didn't do in high school. So I was abstinent. I didn't drink, didn't smoke.
We get it, Frank.
Yeah.
You're not cool.
I was not cool. Even to the nerdy people, I wasn't cool. I wasn't on the right level. Everybody I hung out with did all that stuff. Well, not everybody. A good chunk of them. But yeah, I just see Red and I see how much I also hate teenagers. And I'm like, man, he was right the whole time. When I was young, I would relate more with the kids, right? And yeah, stick it to the man, do what we want. We're going to hang out with our friends and have fun. I didn't have that many friends anyway. Just one or two.
Well, now
at a time.
We're upstairs people.
We are upstairs people. I think I was an upstairs person at the age of 16, though. I think I hung out with my friend's mom and stepdad as much as I did.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the most relatable lines in the whole show.
Yeah.
When he said, "You're upstairs people now."
Yep.
Yep. We all grew up.
And they did a circle, but they weren't smoking.
Mm-hmm.
What were they doing? Playing cards, I think.
I don't know. Probably dominoes or something.
Yeah. Old people stuff. Am I right, guys? Me and Marty played gin a lot.
True.
And what's that? Backgammon or something?
Yeah, backgammon.
Yeah. I like the show. Definitely better than that 80s show. I think it's going to last longer than that 80s show did. I honestly didn't. I don't know if that 80s show ever even aired.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've never seen it on anything. I've seen actors who have been listed as being in that show. Like, I think the Eric for that show was, oh gosh, Dennis from Always Sunny. I think. Can't confirm. Well, I can, but then I have to type, and I don't feel like typing. So definitely better than that 80s. Definitely not as good as that 70s yet. It's their first season. First seasons are usually the hardest. I feel like they definitely have potential to get their stride. And the 90s is a great decade to explore. The late 90s is going to have a lot of stuff for them to go through that'll, like, funny-wise. Bill Clinton, we got that coming up. Wouldn't it be great to explore that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the big thing for me is Bill Clinton. That whole scandal. That's got to be, like, classic 90s, you know? The Simpsons, they've got the... Oh, man. Hold on a sec. I got to Google something real quick. Marty, don't... I'm going to Google on my phone so you can't see. But I feel like I may have just found how they should end this series. I had thought about it before.
Something Y2K.
Oh, dang. That's a pretty good one, too. That's a good idea, but I'm thinking something else. But it depends on what month this came out of. I think it came out in the summer, so it could be difficult. Yeah, this came out in May. So this would be a good season opener for the final season. Because this came out May of 1999. And this is going to really tie into the show. Star Wars Episode 1.
Yeah.
The first prequel.
That'll do it. Because, I remember that 70s show, they were watching the original movie.
They watched it when it came out.
Yeah.
So they can watch the first... hey, Netflix, if you hear this, we're copywriting this idea. No, I don't think that's how that works. But you can have it for free just because I want to see it. If this show keeps going, throw Episode 9 in there. Jurassic Park can get referenced, so throw some of those in there. What are some big 90s stuff for you?
Power Rangers, I guess that was more 80s.
No, Power
90s?
Rangers came out in like 92, 93.
Okay, early
Yeah.
90s, yeah. So it should already be out at this point.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Pokemon.
Pokemon comes out in the next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll be 96 in the next season. Unless they decide to do the next season as, instead of her going away and then coming back the next summer, she just comes back like a couple weeks later. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I can see like Eric and Donna buying a house in Point Place or something.
Yeah, or she moves in with...
Gwen.
Ooh, how about this? Eric finds out somehow Leia's not his biological daughter. Him and Donna are going through something. She goes and stays with Red and Kitty while they're dealing with their stuff.
That's still like a
That's
short-term...
pretty dark, yeah.
Short-term solution, though.
And this is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of sadness to these types of shows that's just, in the background, overshadowed by the comedy.
Is there, in that 70s show, I'm trying to think, we've got Hyde was abandoned by the guy who he thought was his dad.
That's pretty sad.
And then that wasn't actually his dad. And then he didn't know who his dad was. And then he found out who his dad was. And then that guy was rich. So that was less sad. But, I mean, Hyde was homeless for a while. And then Hyde was living without any parents in his house for a while. And that's when he moved in with the Foremans. What are some other sad things that they went through? Donna went through her parents' divorce. That must have been upsetting for her. And then, I guess, their remarriage. Did they get remarried or did they get back together? I know they got back together at some point in the future. I don't know. Kelso having knocked up a teenager when he was a teenager. Not maybe sad, but like definitely a dramatic thing.
Yeah.
I guess they hit some pretty serious issues. But they didn't really talk about Vietnam too much. They talked more about Korea and World War II than they did Vietnam in that 70s show.
Yeah, I guess because no one in the show was, like, in it,
Yeah, nobody, like, because the
Red-
teenagers were too young.
Red was in Korea.
Red was too old, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob. I think Red was in World War II also. Because he talks about being in the Navy during Pearl Harbor or something, I thought.
If he was in World War II, he's pretty old in 95.
I mean, Leo was in World War II. Because he was a war hero. He like drove a transport truck or something.
So these guys are like pushing 80.
Yeah. Red I think Red was probably born in the 1920s, if I had to guess. Kitty too. obviously. But I mean, yeah, the old people are old. The people who used to be young are now middle-aged, and now the infants are almost adults. So if she turns 15 in 95, that means this group of characters, if they're all about the same age, will graduate in 98, right?
Yeah, should be 3 more years. Yeah.
So if they graduate in 98, dang, that's another thing that they missed out on. That would have been potential right there. American Pie was class in 99.
Mm.
They could have lined it up with them, but they'll be class in 98. So they won't be able to explore American Pie, sadly. Oh well. It's not a very good movie, to be honest.
Yes, it is.
Ah,
I feel like we've done a lot of talking about like the timeline and stuff, and not so much about the actual show.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what the show's about. It's that 90s show.
Yeah, but we haven't talked about the other characters. Like, we talked about Leia, we talked about Ozzy, but there's still, like, a bunch of other characters.
Yeah. I mean, we can hit through them real quick, because really they're not the main characters. Leia was really... I mean, she is the main character. She has a little thing with Jay, Kelso's son. Kelso has 2 kids, at least. A daughter who is not in this show at all, who would only be 16. I don't know why she's not in the show. And then his son, Jay, which is the love interest for Leia. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the sparks.
They're 15. It's season 1.
I didn't feel sparks like I felt it with Eric and Donna, okay? Eric and Donna, you know.
Those were grown people acting like teenagers.
Hey, Donna was like 19. She wasn't out of her teenager years yet. Let's see. Who else is... who are some of the new kids? Gwen?
Yeah, so Gwen is her, like, best friend now.
Yeah.
She's the next-door neighbor.
Yeah, she lives in Donna's old room.
Yeah.
She has a brother named Nate. They're half-siblings.
Yeah.
He is very pasty white, and she is mixed.
Yeah.
I like their relationship sometimes. It's funny. Sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, they're brother and sister. Like, it's not talked about enough in the show. They don't act like they're siblings, really. They just act like they're in a friend group together. So I would like to see a little bit more siblingness. They did a good bit with that, like his dad sent him something and then she messed it up. And so they like fought about that. I think they needed to do a little more with that. I don't think that was deep enough.
Yeah.
I think they kind of they threw it in there. It could have had a little more impact. But I completely understand that though, because exact same situation. I've got a sister who is only half sister that is less than a year older than me. So same age, roughly, different dads. So I get it. I'm like, that's relatable. And you know, it's kind of weird how much of the stuff in this show that I can relate with that isn't the common stuff. Like I have a half sister that's almost the same age as me. And then I lived with my friend's parents, and then now I'm not associated with them really anymore. Not because I don't like them or anything. They're far away and it's not convenient and easy to see them.
You got Nate's girlfriend, Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki was probably the least memorable person. She doesn't speak a lot. I think she's supposed to be the brainy person.
I still liked her more than Ozzy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between remembering and liking. You'll remember Ozzy more than you'll remember her.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Her character was all right. I'm going to give her a fresh start on season 2. Let the characters grow.
I'll flesh them out a little bit more. Because, I mean, it's hard to flesh out that many people in only 10 episodes. Like, that 70s show, that's probably something that made that a little better, was they, had 20 plus episodes a season. So that's more time to do these longer stories with deeper character arcs and stuff like that. I think that's one of the things that's just a problem with all TV shows nowadays, is they're 8 to 10 episodes a season. Not enough. Not enough time.
I think that's okay when you're talking about an hour-long episode.
Yeah, sure.
But 20-minute episodes, 10 of them, not enough.
And wasn't there like a season of Stranger Things? There was like 4 episodes or something. I don't know. I need at least 10, preferably 12 hours per season.
Yeah.
I want to binge it. If I'm binging something, I want to binge it. I want there to be like enough for me to get into. But moving on from that, Nikki's the smart one. And then she's dating Nate, who's Gwen's sister. And then towards the end of the season, him and Leia almost kissed, got caught by Gwen's sister, who didn't tell anybody. And it seemed like, and that's the thing, they're making it seem like it's a big deal, but I don't understand what even drove them to want to kiss.
Because they're 15.
True that. Okay, yeah.
And they're talking about like finding this person that understands you, and like they're saying the same things at the same time,
Yeah.
like finishing each other's sentences, and they're like, oh,
But they're not. They don't have any chemistry. You know what I'm saying? Like her, I mean, she doesn't really have chemistry with Jake Kelso either. But him and his girlfriend have been hooked up together for a long time. They've been clingy this entire time. They've never given us any indication that he would have any interest in anybody besides his girlfriend. And then because she said something about going to college in like that same episode, he becomes self-conscious enough, or like what? Not self-conscious. What's the word I'm looking for here? Where you're not sure of your relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like where you're not firm in it.
insecure.
Insecure. All right, rewind. So they made him like so insecure that he just
all of a sudden,
yeah, out of nowhere, he was gonna kiss another girl, and then they didn't kiss, and then they got really weird about it.
But the thing that led up to that was she wanted to stay with Jay and do the long distance thing,
Yep.
and Jay was like, no, I don't want to do the long distance thing. Let's just break it off.
Right, because it's the practical thing.
Yeah, and Nate ended up telling her like, well, I was actually on your side,
Yeah, and that's the ironic thing. So they're agreeing that they should work on their long distance relationships with the two other people,
Mhm.
and that draws them into each other.
For 15-year-olds, plausible.
Sure, but for 15-year-olds, being in the same room and you turn the lights off is enough reason to do tons of things.
Exactly. So why are we questioning it?
Because it's not about real 15-year-olds, it's about a show that's been written. And so you want there to be good writing.
I don't feel like it was bad writing.
That's like if I wrote a movie or a TV show about aliens, I don't have anything to go off of. But that doesn't justify me making them do things that don't make sense. Even though, like, we don't know how aliens would act. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I know that teenagers are irrational and do stupid things, right? But in a TV show, when you have a teenager do something irrational and stupid, you want there to be like a reason in the story for that to happen, to
Well,
drive something.
They just created this dramatic, four-way love square.
Yeah, they did.
And they left it on a cliffhanger.
Right. That's the thing, though. They didn't set it up until the last episode.
Yeah, I can see where
And then
what
it was
you're
just super fast.
saying. Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, he was very secure in his relationship throughout the season. The last episode, they have that conversation about her wanting to go to college, and then the conversation about long distance relationships. And now he's so insecure, he's going to another woman. Well, woman. He's going to another girl, and she's also like about to kiss him. She just had her first kiss with another guy.
Maybe they're just rushing it because, like we said, it's 10
exactly,
episodes. there's only 20.
Exactly.
That's that one episode that they set this whole thing up. That's 10% of the show.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they need more.
Yeah.
That's why 10 isn't enough for TV shows. But yeah, it was a little forced. Their mom, Nate and Gwen's mom, obnoxious. She has this really thick accent that I can't tell if it's supposed to be Canadian or like from Minnesota. I don't know if they referenced that at the beginning of the season, because I watched the second half today and I watched the first half a few days ago. So I'm remembering the second half more than I'm remembering the first half. Yeah, I have no idea.
What's her name? Sherry?
Yeah, Sherry. She's played by somebody I've never seen in anything before.
Yeah. She is obnoxious, kind of annoying, but still not a hateable character.
No,
I don't hate her.
no, I don't hate her. I just like, I don't know, maybe I
Her-
don't hate her.
I don't like her alone, but her and Fez together I kind of like.
Yeah, her and Fez are good.
Yeah.
Fez and anybody, when Fez was like in the basement with the kids at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Creepy but funny.
Mhm.
He could be like the Leo for this generation or something, even though Leo is in the show.
Leo is in the show, and
Still Leo.
still Leo. Still love him.
Yeah. Did you see that scar on his forehead?
Mm-hmm.
You saw it?
Yeah.
You saw the scar on his forehead.
Sure did.
You son. I hate you. It's an emotional scar. Son of a... Now I dislike you more than Ozzy. I liked Kelso and Jackie at the beginning of the show when they're like, "We're getting remarried for the third time."
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. And then she said something about her dress, and she had like a white dress or something, and Kitty was like, "Really? White?" It cracks me up. But I know that those are like big name people, and so it would be really expensive to have them in the show more. But I would like them in the show more. I would like all of the original cast in the show more, except for Hyde at this moment. If he's cleared of charges sure bring it back. Till then, don't put him in anything. Like if they have to mention him at some point, I don't see why they would need to. But
I don't know. I'm kind of okay with them not being in it as much because they're giving the new characters a chance to shine, but they're also keeping like a few of the old ones. So you got Fez pretty frequently, and obviously Red and Kitty. I don't know. I like that. I feel like it's a good balance of old and new.
Yeah, but a lot of the original cast, like in the original show, their parents were a part of the show. You know what I'm saying? They weren't the main characters, but except for Red and Kitty, obviously. But Bob was in it a lot. Donna's mom was in it somewhat.
Yeah, and that's Sherry and Fez now.
I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm not done. Hyde's parents were a big part of it.
Were they?
Yeah, his mom was in the show a lot before she left. And then when she left, then he didn't have any parents for a while, and he fell under Red Kitty. Then he got his dad back, and then his dad became kind of a main thing for the rest of the show because his dad provided him with a job and stuff like that, and he got a new sister.
Again, I think the issue is 10 episodes, 20 minutes apiece.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't cram all that into one season.
I don't think that's an excuse. I think that's the reason, but not an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that a lot of the complaints I have stem from that, but these are still valid criticisms of the show. Jackie's parents and Kelso's parents weren't super involved. I don't think Kelso's parents were ever in the show. He had a brother in the show, though.
Casey.
Yeah. And then Jackie's dad was in a couple episodes, I think, but he wasn't like, a recurring character or anything like that. And then he went to jail. There you go. There's another dramatic thing was when her dad went to jail.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah. What was it for? Like
fraud
or something? Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, something to do with money, I'm sure. And then she was broke. And it's sad. But moving on from that, Fez's, well, they're not his parents. What would they be called? Like the host family? His host family was in the show a little bit. But like Bob isn't around very much. He's in that one episode or one or two episodes, but he lives in Florida. So we're probably not going to see him very much in the show.
That one episode that he did make an appearance, though.
And he sang that song?
No. So it's Leia's birthday, right? And he tells Red and Kitty that he got her a karaoke machine. And Red's like, damn, my $20 isn't going to be enough. And right before this, you hear Kitty say that Bob had one of his testicles removed.
Yeah.
And she tells Red, well, you've got twice the balls as him. You better go make this right.
Yep. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like Kitty. Kitty and Red were still on par with, what they used to be. They were great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's ways to integrate the older characters in the show so that they don't take over the show, but they're still a main part of it. And really, let's be honest, people came to that 90s show because it had the older characters in it, not for the new characters. If it was just because it was that decade show, then that 80s show would have done better. But that 80s show was separated from that 70s show, and so people didn't have the drive to come back to it, and it ultimately failed very quickly. So I think they need to add more episodes to the seasons. They need to not make it a summer thing. They need to get Donna and Eric back to Point Place and just flesh out what's been going on with the adults too, because these are the characters people care about, but then also make most of it about this new generation so we can start to care about them. But it's the selling point is the parents, It'd be like if Star Wars Episode 1 came out and it didn't have Obi-Wan in it and it didn't have Anakin in it. Or if the prequels came out first and then the original trilogy, which would have been the sequel trilogy, barely had Darth Vader or Obi-Wan in it. Well, Obi-Wan is barely in it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're coming back for them, so I want more of them. I don't want them to take over completely. It would be, I'd be okay with that.
Like the sequels did with Rey.
Yeah, see, that's a perfect example of not leaning on your original cast enough. Like, we use these characters to get you in the theater, then we destroy the characters one by one. Like, literally killing them. Oof.
It's sad to think about. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that either. Gee. But I think we done a good job talking about the show, here and there.
What's your overall opinion of it? You want to give it a rating?
Yeah, but first, just for Nate, because Nate wants this in the reviews, I'm not going to say any information about him other than his name is Nate. Actually, I don't know the rest of his name. No idea what his last name is.
I do, but I won't say it.
Well, yeah, we're not going to say it. But
Or maybe I will, and I'll make you bleep it out.
Aha! Don't. Hey, okay, Nate, this is for you. Is it worth watching? If you have Netflix already and you don't have another show that you're invested in at the moment, or you finished the show you are invested in and you're trying to find something else, it's worth a watch.
Yeah, in my opinion, it is worth a watch simply because there's only 10 episodes and they're 22 minutes long. I binged the entire thing like on a Sunday morning before football even came on.
Yeah, I binged this today to get ready for the podcast, or the second half of it.
Yeah, it's a short watch.
Yeah, real short. So don't go into it thinking that you're going to get a lot, because there isn't a lot. But what you do get is okay. It's not bad. I will give it 3 That 70 Shows out of 10 That 80 Shows.
I'll give it about 70, 90s.
Good call. And with that, that concludes our review and discussion of That 90 Show. We will see you guys in the next episode. Marty, do you have anything for the people?
People, peace.
Peace, people, and Patreon.